Hi, this is Daryl Pereira from the ISV and Developer Relations team at IBM, and today I'm just going to do a quick demo of the IBM Forms. A great way of collecting surveys, responses, and other information that you might require from people across the web. And in order to do this, IBM Forms is available in many locations, but we're going to look at the specific example of the forms that you can reach from within the IBM SmartCloud for social business. So that's what you can see right here. If you don't have an account already, you can go ahead and start a trial. If you're an IBMer, you should be able to log in using your own IBM credentials. The kind of forms that you can build, let me just pull up an example here. I'll show you what this looks like. Here's a form that we built for a student contest. We have a combination of check boxes, radio buttons, could be open field request form items. There can be drop downs. You can have all manner of input methods that you typically find on web pages today. It's organized into sections, as you can see here, and right at the bottom you've got the submit button. Submit this and it ends up in a document which we'll get into later. But to begin with, let's go about setting up this form. So as I say, from the SmartCloud for social business, first thing to do then is to sign in, top right hand corner. Once you've gone through that sign-in process, you'll end up in your dashboard, which I'm showing here. And in the dashboard, we'll be going into the Forms application, which you can see halfway down the left-hand navigation. So we click on Forms. To get into Forms, that will open up the Form Designer, which is this view here. I'm stepping through this quite quickly. I've opened these pages up already. Give it just a name for the actual form, and then as we start building out the form, we can rename the different elements here. So one of these is the title, and for each of the elements that you see on your form, it's this little, if you hover over it, you have the ability to change the element properties. So as you saw, I had a default image, so you could select an image from your hard drive that you want to upload to brand your form. You can enter some text in here, such as, let's get going. You can have a subtitle. Click OK when that's done, and you should see that just appear at the top of the page. Give that a moment to populate. Here it comes, and now we get into, we could start with individual sections. So let's just say I've got one, I just want to call it section 1. Again, I go into the item properties. And actually what we're looking at here is one of the elements. This is a data type, so it's an open text field. You can go ahead and select different types, so I'm going to keep this as text. And the label, add your fields. So we'll call this label, just call it, let's be creative here, nothing more than field 1. I'll keep most of the default settings on this one, but you can go ahead and change those. You can also add something if you want hover help. Somebody wonders what they should be entering there, you can offer them help. At that point then just click OK. Generate. The section title up here, let's see if I can, give that a second to build itself. I can click on the section title, I can rename that section. Let's give this a different name here. I'll click OK. Give that a second, let that draw. It's being a little bit slow because I've got the Camtasia software running as well as the form builder, and everything's slowing my machine down. But let me drop in something else here. Let's do a drop down list. So what you do is you see an element on the right hand side, and you just drag it across to where you want to place that. So I want to drop this in. I'll put it above my final submit form for this. Give that a minute, and now what it should come up with is asking me what are the settings I want to display here. So call this drop down 1, and you have the value sets that you'll have there, and then let's just put yes. And then if we just put the report value, this is what gets reported in the document you'll see at the end. So you could have specific values, could change this. Let me change this to a numerical number value. Let's put that in there. And then again it says no, let me change that, and I can put 0. Now I can specify which of these I want to be the initial value to show up on the form. Let me select 1. I click OK. Give this a minute, let it draw, and there you can see there's our drop down. And you have the option to go in and select values. Let me add something, let's put something simple in here, just a normal entry field. That will be a text entry field. Drop one of those in there. Oops. Oops, I need to make sure I've selected it first. Drop it in. And open entry. And then here you can select what kind of value, whether you want text, what kind of it should be entered in there. You can make this multiple lines. Let me go ahead and make this 4 lines long. I can allow scrolling within the box, so it will, especially if you want people to add something like a paragraph. Again, click OK. There it is, there's our field. And let me just do one last one, but hopefully you're getting the idea of all the different kind of elements that we can add into the form. So this one will be a choice. Here, let me just put in a, I'll use, let's allow them to select multiple values. So this will be checkboxes. And oops, I'll leave it just to select one. And then the first one can be, I'll just put some random numbers in here just to show you that it's open. And again, it can be those numbers will show up. Let me just put something like that. And now if I click on OK, and this option here, the allow submitters to select multiple choices, that really defines whether this is a radio button or whether this is going to be a checkbox. So in this instance, allowing submitters to do various options should give me a checkbox. So there we go, those are my checkboxes. I can add in text labels if I want to be descriptive within the form. I can then add in separate sections to divide out the form into different areas. And you'll see there is also, you can also do simple rules, so that based on the input from a given value, you can show different questions, for instance, based on a previous value. So quite a lot of value in here. You can add attachments, but for this I'm going to leave it at this and go, once I'm ready with this and think, okay, my form looks good, I'll click on next. So give it a moment while it crunches this through, and now you get the options to really what I want to do with this form, so I can publish it in different places. In this instance I'm going to talk about making a public form, so we'll go ahead and just publish this as a public form. Just click on publish. And you have options here. You can, if you want to put the form on an existing page, there's an iframe support, so you can then just copy this, paste this code into a blog post or into anywhere else where you may want to display this form. Alternatively, you can offer it just as a link. And as they point out, if you want to look at the actual results for this form, they actually show up in the Files application. So we'll head over there next. So we're all done here. Let me just see if we go to embed link in the form. Let's see if I can grab this. Here we go. So this is the link. So if I take this text, if I take a look at my link, open up another tab here in my browser, drop in that link, click on enter. What I should see is my live form, sorry. So I'll give this a second. You get, and there's a, there is some security around this to make sure that you agree, especially this is something that appears in the public context. Lets you know who published the form, and it tells you only to submit if you want it. So as we said here, we had an open field there. You can select one of these values. I can type in some more text here. I had to select one of those options, and then when I'm ready, I just click submit. And that's it. Form submitted. Good idea maybe to enter in email addresses or some contact information if you are looking to, if you do need to provide feedback to individuals. If you use it within the context of the SmartCloud environment, then all those details can be captured along with it. So where do these show up? If I go back to my dashboard now, and if I go into the Files application, give this a minute to load, and now you should end up with 2 extra files here. And here we go. So number of files that I've got in place. So you can see on the one hand I've got my demo test. Now if I go into that one, this will actually be that form itself exists as a file within the system. So that's how I can find out who they are. From within the form I can go directly to look at who submitted, and you can see here, and there was one submission a minute ago. Lo and behold, that will be mine. If I go and view that response, I can view it here through the web interface. Give this a moment to load, and I can see exactly my submission and how that looks. Alternatively, if I go back, the other option is to take this file as and download the result set as a and download that data set as a comma separated value as a CVS file. What does that look like? Here's an example of one where this going back to the original example, the student tests, the student submissions. And you can see here each of the questions appears, each of the submissions comes down as one of the rows. So we've got 41 cells here. Maybe if I take off the top 2, we're talking about 39 submissions or so. And in addition to that, you can see that each of the questions is displayed across the top, and the answer field will be listed next to it. As I was using a lot of multiple choice questions, so this is predominantly radio buttons and checkboxes, the way that the results come back to me is that I can see for each of the submissions, I'll just see an entry in the cell where there was an entry. So you can go through the rows here and you can see where there have been actual entries and what that entry was. And so I've done, in the past, we can take this off into Excel or into another spreadsheet editing program. You can apply some simple analytics if you want to, some simple kind of form and page management stuff. If you want to go more in depth, you can apply pivot tables, etc. to this data so that you can interact with it and engage with it and explore it in more depth. So that's effectively it. Go ahead, get involved, set up some forms, test them out, and then start publishing and start sharing these forms. I'd recommend it. I'd say the best way to get going here is really to dive in and just to start using the tool.